So we're going to talk now about the Adverse Childhood Experiences study. And it's a kind of a complicated conversation because in some ways it depends a little bit on who your audience is. When you are working with an audience that works regularly in the mental health field, they have or at least should have heard of the ACEs study. But a lot of folks outside of the mental health profession have not heard about the ACEs study. In fact, even in this field of medicine, there are many providers who haven't heard of it yet. It's very important in talking about the ACEs study to engage the audience and ask them to describe what childhood experiences they think had an impact on the study. What I typically do is I talk about the size of the study. The use of the number is incredible when you think about the power in research and that there's such a large number of participants. And then walk through and ask what they think the questions would include. And this also opens up conversations about why trauma affects people differently, whether natural disasters are really a more serious trauma than things such as abuse or neglect, and whether or not being in a large family is more traumatic where there has been instances of abuse versus being in a smaller family. Do not be surprised if one topic that comes up is poverty or homelessness. Again, it is not in the original ACEs study. Certainly it's something that Kentucky Youth Advocates has included in their study, but it's not in the original study. And it's very important to help your audience recognize not only that the behavior that they may see stems in part from a kid's experience with trauma, but that also it has long-range health effects down the road. It's also equally important to help your audience recognize that that's not the end of the story. If it were the end of the story, we wouldn't have these trainings. The end of the story is that just as trauma can create changes in an individual's brain and personality, so too can our interventions create changes in brain and personality.